Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Supposedly, someone got their hands on a report stating that Mr. Prigozhin tried to call Putin when I don't want to call it insurrection, the rebellion went, quote unquote, too far. Too far according to what? What kind of how should I say, limits, premises. So let's see, this article comes from Business Insider, and let's see what the report says. And let's discuss why Mr. Putin did not pick up his personal cell phone to answer Prigozhin's personal cell phone, because that's how they do. They have personal cell phones and they call one another when they feel threatened or when they feel lonely. So Prigozhin tried to call Putin when he realized his rebellion has, quote-unquote, gone too far, but the Russian president ignored him. Report. So what do you mean the guy who organizes a rebellion, allegedly, and the rebellion was we're going to come to Moscow to just show that you guys are not doing a good job, gone too far? What is too far? What did you expect? Too far according to what? Who set the premises? Who set the limits? And the Russian president ignored him. All right, let's see what information these guys provide. Yevgeny Prigozhin tried to call Vladimir Putin during the Wagner Group rebellion, a report says. Now, this is a different kind of information than the too far thing. I have a problem with the too far, but anyway. Prigozhin's mercenary force launched an attack on the Russian government Saturday. Was that so? The rebellion was called off when Wagner leaders and the Kremlin brokered a deal. Evgeny, these things are very misleading in my assessment, just so you know. Wagner did not really attack the Russian government unless you consider, well, this is by extrapolation, let's put it this way. He had a problem, big problem, not with Putin per se and his government, but with the military. No, military is part of the Russian government apparatus, but it's not, they make it to sound like against, trying to topple Putin or something. That's, I think. And then the rebellion was called off when Wagner leaders and the Kremlin brokered a deal. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group mercenary force, tried to call Russian President Vladimir Putin when he realized his mutiny against Russia's military leadership, there you freaking have it, okay, has gone too far, a report said. Yes, it was Russia's military, but you can extrapolate it with the government. After Prigozhin's forces has seized control of the southern Russian city of Rostov-on-Don Saturday, Putin branded the rebels traitors, told them to surrender, and vowed that they would be punished. So I'm gonna fuck you up. Sources told Russian independent media outlet Meduza that Prigozhin said, and I'm quoting, "No one is going to turn themselves in at the request of the president, the Federal Security Service, or anyone else." According to the source near the Kremlin, Prigozhin then, and I'm quoting, tried to call Putin, but the president didn't want to speak with him. Of course, you need to know that I'm very, very upset with you at this moment, and I intend to fuck you up. So we don't need to talk right now. You do what you need to do based on the circumstances. I think that's how it was. You know exactly what you need to do. Why do I need to talk to you? I don't need to talk to you. You're just a guy over there having a private military company. By the way, totally funded, I just found out, by the Russian government, by the Russian people. Well, if you did not know that, I will make a video to give you more details on that one. I didn't know that. So the Wagner Group was 100% funded by the Russian government. I thought that Prigozhin provides some. No, well, I'm gonna show you in the video I'm gonna make after this video. Medusa sources told, it doesn't mean that all this is true, that he tried to call. It is according to Medusa and according to Business Insider. And since these guys never lied to us, we should believe them, right? So, okay, I'm just saying this. According to sources, Medusa sources told the outlet that Prigozhin likely realized, so this is an interpretation, okay, the sources told the outlet that Prigozhin likely realized that he'd gone too far. So this is an interpretation of some people. Not that Prigozhin said, not that, that's what they think why he called Putin. And I'm quoting, prospects for his column to continue to advance were dim, end quote. You think so? His boasts that members of the Russian military were prepared to join his rebellion had not materialized, as I said in my previous videos. Either it was, they were supposed, some of them were supposed, like in 2016 in Turkey, or he hoped so. But if he hoped so, then maybe some outside help was also involved in this, if you know what I mean, help. At that stage, Prigozhin's forces were around 120 miles from Moscow and were about to reach the first defense perimeter set up around the Russian capital by the military and National Guard, Medusa reported. I think before these guys would have reached there, they would have been bombed by Russian military missiles, a lot of them. And I found out that actually right now Wagner is going to give the Russian military, the defense ministry, their heavy weaponry. Why? That means disarming, because those weapons were provided, like tanks, they were provided by the Russian military. They didn't have their own. So, you had how much you had. You think you could, with what you have, you can fight the Russian army, unless you're supported by outside aid called, the so-called aid. So Prigozhin said in a video message early Saturday that he launched a rebellion to seek the firing of Russia's military leaders, who, he claimed, had botched Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but not Putin's ouster. I said this many times, yes, they had a problem with those too, but it doesn't mean that then he turns around and gets Putin after that, if he can. According to the report, both sides decided to step down to avoid bloodshed, and senior Russian security officials negotiated with Wagner leaders. Prigozhin eventually accepted Belarusian President Lukashenko's offer to go into exile in his country. The Kremlin said Wagner fighters would be offered a chance to enroll in the Russian military, and charges against Prigozhin and Wagner rebels would not be pursued. So, it's true. He's going to go over there, or at least there's talk that Prigozhin's days are numbered. However you want to look at it, this damage cannot be repaired, forgiven or forgotten by Putin. I will always mention this. Now, I don't think Putin will change his mind, but in one of his interviews that I watched a long time ago, I can't remember if it was with Charlie Rose or not. Maybe, 5 years ago or so. 4 or 5, something like that. He was asked, you can find it on YouTube. He was asked, what is something that you cannot forgive, or something like that, forgive, I think. And Putin said, disloyalty. So this sounds and looks exactly like that kind of thing. And even though Prigozhin tried to make it's not about you, it's about those guys, still, whatever Prigozhin did was off. And when I said they tried to prevent bloodshed, the bloodshed would be a little bit of the Russians, how should I put it, efforts taken from the Ukrainian to take care of these guys. If the Russian military would have stayed intact, if it would stay intact, Prigozhin's rebellion would have lasted 3 days, probably. And believe me, when you're paid to fight and the money comes from the Russian government, I don't know if you want to still fight. I mean, they're not idiots. I mean, probably some of them are. I didn't meet them, but I'm just analyzing as a person who still has the self-preservation instinct, was thinking, wait a minute, I'm going to fight with what? My buddy's here, and he knows who's who, what's what. The Russians, how many chances do I have? Probably in 3 days the whole thing would have been done if the Russian army would not have splintered. And probably that was one of Prigozhin's hopes and the West's hopes, who were like drooling over this. And nothing happened. It's all over. Prigozhin, as of now, has no charges against him. You can imagine. Putin, I don't know if he said, I'm not going to take care of you, or he didn't say anything. But Prigozhin knows that there will be some other interest that will probably seek for revenge and take care of him. Prigozhin is not going to come back as anything anymore. I would be surprised if all this, let's say if it was we're going to do this, let's plan this, let's do this. I was too risky to announce this kind of, to have too much control. You need to really have a lot of control to hold the line and create the whole, this is a rebellion, I'm going to do this, we're going to move in, and say everything is just staged in the middle of the war over there, with probably factions inside the Russian military, which I don't think it's a monolithic one line staying over there fast. There are some people who say, what the hell are we doing here? Why is it taking so long? Why don't we bring the big guns and go to Kiev? Why don't we just bomb this or bomb that capital and so on? There are a lot of people who are like pulling left, right, and so on. So I don't think you would just give only the hint or the opportunity to say people that are not informed. Let's say this is a game, a stage with Prigozhin pretending that he's doing this to, I don't know, be deployed in Belarus or something like that. You risk too much, because it's not. I don't think it's so much cohesion in the Russian military. And if people unaware of the game, which would have found, I mean, you can inform everybody, hey, this is a game here with the stage, would have joined this guy. You couldn't take a chance as a Russian under the circumstances. So I think this was not spoken. I'm talking, hey, we're going to do this, Prigozhin, okay, and then we pretend we don't like one another, and then we come back together. No. And Prigozhin also has Wagnerites in Africa, and it seems like those guys are also partly sponsored or funded by the Russian government. So complicated. Maybe Prigozhin is just a front man to a certain extent. He's just over there, the showman saying certain things. You push a button, then you take the foot off, a finger off, and then so on. They disarm them right now in the conflict zone. I'm going to make a video on that one, and we're going to discuss that development. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.